Hey everyone, Tina Noah Barfield here, and a few things before I get started. First, this is the spot with the best lighting in my new room. I discovered this through trial and error. Mostly error. I also realized that, compared to my last background, this one seems relatively plain. But let's just focus on my words and my beautiful face, and we'll be fine. Now, I also realized that most of you are probably aware that there was no Writer's Corner video last week. And that was because I actually got pretty busy. I was not willing to allocate the time necessary for a Writer's Corner video whenever I was already allocating so much time for rehearsing, planning, and preparing to speak at the local library, which I did without dying, spontaneously combusting, or fleeing the scene, all of which I was most likely to attempt at the same time had I been less prepared. But it was a really great time actually, and I got to speak to people ranging from adults to little children about the topic of commitment, what it takes to be an author, and the perseverance required. It was a really great time, and I got to connect with another young writer on a couple different things, which I haven't done in a while in person, which was fantastic. I was also able to sell almost all of the copies of Legendland that I've been carting around with me. I mean, I'm keeping one for myself. But overall, it was a really remarkable and unique experience that reminded me why I enjoy speaking in public whenever I'm adequately prepared. It's the same reason why I enjoy doing YouTube videos, because I like giving helpful tips, resources, and encouragement to other people who share the same passion, interest, and love as I do, writing. If I've even helped one person on their writing journey with the tips or mistakes that I've made or given, then I will consider it well worth it. And I mean, I like helping other people with their passions that I don't share, but you probably don't want to come to me for your rocket science project. Mostly because I said the words rocket science project. But writing is something that I feel I'm good enough at to be able to help most writers of all ages, as well as uniquely qualified to help other young authors. But I digress. I got to thinking whenever I was talking about commitment. Commitment is something that I feel very intimately and personally about, but is also relatable to a wide audience. What other things do I feel that way about? And immediately I thought about, well, my specialization is commonly emotions. I'm really good at writing realistic emotions that I felt while writing, so they just kind of leap out the page and grab you and not let you go until you finish reading the novel, which works out well for me. But I realized that I write a lot of emotions, and I talk about a lot of emotions on this YouTube channel, so I decided not to do that. But then I thought of another specialization that whenever people read Legendland, they will immediately notice and feel that I do pretty well actually. So I had an idea. I had a wonderful, awful idea. And I kept seeing all the different stuff on different Facebook writing groups I was in about this, and I started researching it to make sure I know what I'm talking about, and I do. So this video will be one of hopefully a couple YouTube writing videos about multiple points of view. So this video will be an introduction to writing multiple points of view, and it'll give you some things to consider, like what is a point of view anyway, what are the different kinds and the pros and cons of them, as well as what are some things to consider before I write multiple points of view, and do I need to do so anyway. Now, if you know what I'm going to be talking about because you're an experienced writer, well, stick around anyway. You can't get this beautiful face and words anywhere else. Also, it might teach you something new, actually, or you might just be refreshed in a positive manner. If you don't know what I'm going to be talking about, great! That's what I'm here for. So first off, what is a point of view? A point of view is how you're going to be watching the story unfold. It's the lens through which you will behold this story, or there will be the eyes of the character that you'll be watching this tale from. There are multiple different kinds of points of view, and I think I know all of them. Though if you know any obscure points of view that most people don't know about, let me know so I can impress any snobby writer friends I have. But I will start out with talking about third-person omniscient. Now, third-person omniscient basically is an all-powerful, all-knowing narrator who knows the entire story and what's going to happen and is simply relating it to you. Most novels in the 19th century were either written from a first-person journal entry style, or they were written from a third-person omniscient point of view. Next, you have third-person limited, which kind of takes some of the really great stuff from third-person omniscient, but also some of the really good stuff from first-person point of view. It lets you explore a wide world like third-person omniscient does, but unlike the omniscient point of view, third-person limited allows you to have an intimate approach with these characters, because these characters aren't all-powerful narrators, they don't know everything that's going to happen, and this story is affecting them just like it's affecting you. Next, you have first-person point of view. First person reads as, I went to the store. So it's very great for developing intimacy and getting a personal connection with these characters, but it's not so great for exploring a wide, complex world unless you have multiple points of view, which is what I like to do. But however, it can get repetitive because you can say, I picked up the note, I read the note on the bottle, I set the bottle down. You have to really learn how to show and not tell and have crafty use of dialogue whenever you're writing first person, but I think it's really great for developing intimacy with these characters. Next, last but not least, you have second person point of view, which reads as, you went to the store. It's commonly not used in novels due to how repetitive it can get, even more so than first person, and it can be a little more challenging to be able to masterfully use dialogue and showing and not telling improper verbs and actions to convey things whenever you wouldn't normally convey them in that manner. But it's really great for short stories or novellas, or it can be really great for a novel if you feel like you're up to that task. And if you write a really good one, let me know. Now, most time, whenever you're writing multiple points of view, you will be doing third person limited or first person. So that way you can see the world from each of these characters' eyes that you're writing, but it also allows you to have some intimacy with them. Second person doesn't really work that way because it can get confusing. If you have multiple different people, why are they all you? Also, third person omniscient doesn't let you really get attached to one character, much less several that you're trying to get the reader attached to. Here are some things to talk about or think about whenever you are considering writing multiple points of view. 1. Is it necessary? Do you need to have multiple points of view to explore this world? Can you simply do one character? Can you change the story a little bit so that you can have several different characters that you don't need to see the world from, and only one that you can experience it with truly, while having some secondhand experience flow in from these other supportive characters? Also, is it going to detract from the relatability of one character? Whenever you have one main character, the reader really gets attached to this one character, especially if it's written from the first person perspective. You know this character intimately because you're inside of their head all the time. But if you have multiple different viewpoints, you run the risk of not having as relatable characters because you're taking all of that energy that you would be putting into one character and spreading it out across several. So that's something to consider. Also, does the world call for multiple points of view? Are you building up this history-rich world where you want everyone to know about it? Are you? Well, in that case, you might need multiple points of view to explore this vast world. Is your story only taking place in one town? Maybe one point of view will do for you. Also, what point of view are you going to write it in? What style works best for you? And are you going to be able to relate the amount of relatability and a character that you need from multiple different points of view? And how many are necessary? Do you need a cast of 12 characters that you're going to see the crime scene from in different angles? Or do you only need 1 or 2 extra points of view? It can be tricky to manage, but I'll be talking about that in future videos, hopefully. Now, another thing to consider is the specific point of view from which you will be writing from the character's eyes, and whether you're going to be switching. It can be tricky to switch from first person to third person, especially if you're telling it from multiple characters' points of view. It can get really tricky, especially since I keep saying point of view over and over and over again. But something to consider is, whenever you're writing characters, do you want third person limited, third person omniscient, even second person, or do you want first person? First person, you run the risk of people getting confused between your characters. These characters kind of getting jumbled in together. In Legendland, I did my very best to make sure each character was distinct because I have 3 different viewpoints, all from the first person perspective. So 3 characters, all saying I. So you have to really make sure that their personalities, their actions, and even their thoughts and how they speak and how they react to things becomes a very unique experience for first person. It can be a challenge, but does that sound like a welcoming challenge for you? If so, maybe first person, multiple different points of view is your thing. Does third person limited sound like you, where it allows you to hop from head to head much easier, but you run the risk of alienating your characters from your readers. Third Person Limited is great if you're only going to have a smaller cast of characters and you need to kind of hop around from one head to the other, but not incredibly often because you still need that relatability aspect that Third Person Limited gives you. So these are some things to consider. Do I even need multiple points of view? Why should I have them? Does my world call for them? Are my characters going to become unrelatable if I have multiple ones? How can I prevent that? What are some things I can do to make sure my characters are really unique and stand out not only from other characters, but also from each other? These are some things to consider, and hopefully I'll be answering some of those questions in future videos. Now here's the part where I brag about my book, because Legendland, this beautiful thing right here, is available on my website, www.arc-storm.com, and it's also available on Amazon, so you can get it from either places, and I'm not saying we package it with special love whenever it ships directly from us, but we do. Also, don't forget to check me out on all social media things, mostly Facebook and Twitter, because I'm on there often. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and tell everyone you know to subscribe. And Legendland is also an ebook, so if you have an e-reader at all, grab it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope that this video has not only been helpful, but that you continue to enjoy.